When you go into the speaking test, it's important you have a focus for each part. I talked before about the focus for part 1, which was fluency and a quick response. But part 2 is a bit different. It's not that fluency is not important, but there are different skills you can show in this part that should be focused on. In part 2, you will be speaking without stopping for much longer than part 1. You should speak continuously for 2 minutes. In order to do this, you will need to have lots of ideas. So, ideas are the first thing to focus on when you're in this part of the test. If you have lots of ideas for the task you get, you should be able to keep speaking at length, showing the examiner fluency and coherence, grammatical range, and pronunciation. These skills will be shown almost subconsciously. You may not even be aware you're showing the examiner, but you are. Through communicating your idea, explaining and giving detail to the examiner, you will have to use the skills they're looking for without worrying too much about those skills. If you focus too much on showing the examiner grammatical range and using it correctly, or pronouncing words in the right way, it will slow down your speaking and you won't show them your true ability to communicate in English. Imagine you get a task which asks you to describe your best friend. You need to be thinking of ideas to describe them. The way your friend looks, their personality, and examples of them showing this. Things they like or dislike, what you enjoy doing together, and so on. The 4 cues you get on your topic card should help you with this. But the more ideas you have when you're talking, the more speaking skills you will be able to show off. So, when you're speaking, your main focus is letting the examiner know the ideas you have on the topic you have been given. However, ideas should not be your only focus. This part of the test gives you a chance to describe something in detail. No other part of the speaking test gives you a chance to do this in so much detail. So you need to take this opportunity and show the examiner how well you can use language to describe something well. Creating a detailed picture in the mind of the listener. If you want to describe something really well, then you need to use a lot of good and appropriate vocabulary. Vocabulary is the second focus you should have in this part of the test. You need to think about words you want to use to communicate your ideas. And do not try to use vocabulary that you think is very advanced and you may not understand 100%. The key here is that you have words in mind that will help to clearly describe your ideas. Words that fit the context of what you're talking about exactly. You don't want to try to force complex words that don't really fit the topic into your speaking. To get high scores for your lexical resource or vocabulary, you must show some idiomatic language, as I explained earlier in the course. But it must be appropriate to what you're talking about. You must think carefully about the language you use. And unlike other parts of the test, there is time to think about this. In parts 1 and 3, you must answer the examiner immediately. But in part 2, you have 1 minute to prepare. Imagine you get a task asking you to describe a city you've been to before. it's a good idea to think about some adjectives you can use, such as hectic, bustling, and unique. When you speak, you should make sure you've used the words you've thought of and maybe even explain it a bit after to show you understand exactly what you're saying. Something like this. The city was really hectic. There were people rushing past me all the time. I had to be really careful when I was walking down the street. It's important you think of some kind of idiomatic vocabulary you can include, such as time flew by, meaning the time when you were in a place felt like it went very quickly, usually because it was so fun. So, when you speak, it might come out a bit like this. I wish I could have stayed there longer, as time flew by when I was there. So when you're in the test and you start part 2, you should be trying to focus on firstly your ideas and also your vocabulary. Thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any future videos.